We're going to start at the beginning here and let me know if you guys will from beginning. If this is that sharing as a full screen? The
Yes.
Absolutely.
gets thumbs up. Okay, good. All right, here we go. So, okay, well, welcome. This is Elevate, which we'll talk about just in a second. But Pool Design 101, really starting with the basics, the basic elements of design. It's a virtual class. We're going to do it 4 nights, Tuesday, Thursday. 6 to 9:30 typically. I put 10 to be safe, and I'll stay long and talk to people and answer questions and stuff afterwards. Is fine, but that's kind of the introduction there. And really, what's Elevate is what is Elevate? It's something no one's heard of before because it's brand new. This is our first event, and Chad and I are excited to launch. What it is a industry outreach for education, in a different one than what's been out there. We work together with Watershape University, and we're establishing a connection with Heritage Pool Supply. But mainly our goal in this, and it's not to compete with Watershape University, because that's where I teach in through there, and I'm a huge believer in the classes they put out. I don't know if any of you know of what that is or some of the opportunities that go through there. But what we're looking at is basically how to reach a different group of people than the same people that go to the classes at the shows and do the things that typically do. And we're really focusing on teaching some of the basic fundamentals, some of the things that typically get left behind, where some of the Watershape classes start at a level that's above where I was when I first started, where a lot of people are. So this is a chance to really fill in some core knowledge gaps of things in the industry, things you kind of know that you know the term, or you know what it is. It's a fuzzy thought in your head, but a way to actually then sort of nail, oh, now I really understand what that is. So to get some good basic information there. A good opportunity through some of the classes we'll have that will sort of onboard companies that have want to bring new people on and teach all these different factors, that sort of the full scope of the industry. This will be an opportunity to do that in a sort of a fun and encouraging way, and really build confidence in yourself and your skills. And I'll tell my story in a minute, where I started in the industry and how I did it, and go through there. But there was a lot. I didn't come from a pool company. I didn't know anything about pools. The first job I did, I called 4 pool companies out of the phone book. So that still existed at that point. And fortunately, it worked out well, and I learned a lot the wrong way, some the right way. And so we kind of want to have an opportunity for people to be able to learn what they can do the right way from the very beginning.
Can I interject real quick?
Please.
The other thing is, there's really nowhere for the pool industry, design and construction. There is not really a barrier to entry, but there's also nowhere to enter. You just kind of enter in, and you're kind of in this world of this looks cool. I love what y'all do. This is neat. I want to do the same thing, but there isn't any. You got to learn. You got to learn it first, right? Well, all of us have gotten into the pool industry accident, mostly, right, Jason?
And thrown to the wolves.
Yeah, thrown to the wolves. We all, like, we've talked to countless people, and that's just how we all started. And we want to be able to have a place for, there's not a lot of barrier to entry, but where do you enter? We want to be the guys that in the group that enters here, and we talk about it, and we all give someone a springboard to launch their career. So, sorry, go ahead, Jason.
Oh, sorry. No, someone texted me. I'm trying to see. Okay, sorry. Okay, never mind. So what Chad said, there you go. Yes, we're trying to get people some basic education, learn, build confidence, and cross train in different fields, so the designers can understand construction, hydraulics, and contract. The field guys can understand some design. Everyone going to start to understand the structures process. Hydraulics is a huge part of where we'll start talking about in a little bit, and systems, how pools work. I mean, you'd be amazed how many people don't know the basics of how a pool works, including a ton of landscape architects don't have no clue about that. So, and that's my background. So, and then finally, really basically build to where you have a platform to prepare for advanced education opportunities to go to the next level and just take it on as far as you can go. Because that's what I did in 2010. I started, and it took me about 5 years to take just about every class I could possibly get my hands on, and then it totally springboarded my career to something that I never dreamed about being able to do before. So anyway, that's our mission and goal with Elevate and what we're doing. So, we do have some partners that we're just getting started. We're working with Watershape University is kind of the main one, and we've mentioned them before, and I will talk a lot about those guys with Bill Drakely and Dave Peterson and Paulo and some of literally the best designers, builders in the world, and that's not hyperbole. It's just a fact when you see the projects they do and put out there with Rick Chafee and good Lord, the go-kart that goes through the shark tank underneath it's insane, the stuff that he does. So that's part of Watershape, and we're kind of work together with them to attack the industry education animal together. But working with Heritage as well, we're starting to work with them to sort of get some with the distribution and make connections through that relationship. And then we've always been real close. We're the sort of the big three manufacturers: Hayward, Pentair, and Jandy. I've designed all systems and done all of it. I've been partial to Hayward for multiple years and have great relationships with those guys, and they're a partner that's going to work with us as well. So a little bit about some of those guys. And then some other sort of smaller, not the big ones, but the more specialty stuff that we work with: Paramount for Infor Systems, and a lot of different water flow elements. And there's a whole class we'll teach on pool systems that'll really go in depth on what these materials are, what the systems are, how to incorporate them, how they work. Really sort of build some base knowledge on that. It's really the next class I want to teach, hopefully in about a month or so. River flow, current systems, lazy rivers are great. The Notabate Tile, Pool Builder Supplies, another one of the distributors under Heritage. Goat turf, God, we do a ton of turf with those. It's a huge part of the design that we deal with now. I've got a whole story I'll tell on that too, about sort of my evolution of going from I can't stand that stuff to ooh, I love it. Fire by Design, Techo Block for some pavers, Pebble Tech, interior pool finishes, Concrete Commander, Fire Commander. They do some custom fire features. So basically, you dream it, they can make it. And that's a fun part of design, is creating details. Fire Magic grills and outdoor kitchen stuff is amazing. Aquastar, Mirror Code, Aquamatic, Watershape Magazine, Pool Magazines. We really have a lot of people that we work with in the industry that we're excited to talk about and to bring some attention to, and vice versa from them. So good partnerships. So, and really these are our goal when we established Elevate and said this is the goal of what we're trying to do, and really build base knowledge upon what basic areas in the industry. And he started outlining, well, this, what we got, classes we teach on that, or thoughts on this. And it really turned into 8 real areas we wanted to push in and discuss and bring light to, and just build those fundamental core knowledge parts from. And just with Elevate it to work out Elevate 8. So those are 8 courses that we're pushing for and starting to do, and hoping to do most of them or a lot of them within this next calendar year. So pool systems 101, saying before, that's how a pool works, from circulation and filtration and automation and heating and sanitization and lighting and visual features. So it goes through the details of how pumps work and how heaters function and how automation controls things and how lights go and cleaning systems, etc. So that's going to be a really cool class. I'm excited to put that one together. Pool structures is going to go into the basics, not exactly how to build a shotcrete shell, but more of This is shotcrete. This is fiberglass. This is vinyl liner. This is stainless steel. And here's some advantages, disadvantages, when to use different ones, how to sort of cross train among people that may not know the different options as far as the structures go. Pool hydraulics is one of the biggest detriments that most people really don't know. And that was, I'll talk about this later, but I spent a long time going deep into it. It's not what my brain was wired, and I had to learn it from scratch. And I learned it every detail and every GPM and pipe size and flow rate, and it gets intense. But there's a big gap in starting that from the very beginning of this is water. Water is wet. Water run through pipes. Pipes are made of PVC. I mean, really start from the very basics and start to answer some of those very fundamental equations that teach that, so that when you go to the class that's the Dave Peterson's hydraulics class, it's just blows you away. You've got that good background behind it. Pool Design 101 is here today, and this is really starting from scratch. Put someone else in here, but it's coming up. Starting from the beginning, teaching the elements, principles, design, teaching the design process. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. We're going to get into pool sales, really not just pool sales, but outdoor living. And a lot of this pool, especially design, I put pool in there because it's just fit with everything else. But the design is nothing about this is pool centric. This is outdoor living more than pools. Pool is a part of the design. It's not the design. So we're going to hit a lot about that. Same thing. We'll actually touch a good bit of sales in this class too, and the process, but go through working with different levels of clients and lots of information on the sales side. Chad is going to teach a pool business side, which is what his degree and background is in construction management, and worked for Turner Construction for years as a cost estimating engineer, and knows the ins and outs of what every nut and bolts and feature cost, and how to make money at this thing and have fun doing it. And then finally get into the service world and just see some basics of the service and understand that, because for me, and that's honestly, that's not my expertise. So there's some, just sort of the basic elements that we want to teach at that. So those are the 8 classes we're going to aim for, where we're going to head. In this class, we're going to start with, it's 12 lessons total. And I've kind of broken them down by 3 acts, like it's in a play that you go through 3 different sort of series of main questions we ask. And the first is why we design. And that's really kind of lesson 1, the importance of design, the role it plays in every successful project, how, sort of the 30,000 foot view of why we do what we do and why it's so important. Kicking into the second through the 6th lesson, we get into the what we design. So we're going to learn the tools in the toolbox to create objects. What are the objects we work with? What are their properties? Line, shape, color, texture. The next one, lesson 3, we'll get into spatial thinking, which is a huge part of design that very few designers really understand the concept or know the concept. You may do it intuitively, but when you actually put words to the things sort of in the back of your head, or you do, and you see the importance of how the theming plays in through it, it takes your designs to a completely different level. We'll get into the design framework in the 4th lesson, which is balance, and how important that is. Basically, you're building the skeleton of the design with the framework, and how everything relates to each other in ways, and understanding sightlines, guidelines, understanding sort of the visual depth is going to come into play. This will be on so 1 through 3 are today. 4, 5, and 6 are going to be on Thursday. Design composition is, now that we've got the objects, what do we do to relate them to each other? Contrast, emphasis, rhythm, movement, unity, everything ties in, and how they play off each other to create, basically to sort of manipulate your viewer and how to make them do what you want them to do in a space. And then lastly, in this sort of the what we design section, would sort of tie it all together and say, see the world with design eyes, or bring it all together and take the components that we've made and now put them in as one and say, these are with some case studies. You'll see some actual just pictures of finished works. Some are great, some are not great. I put some that are bad designs in there too, so you can pick apart and see things that I like that. I'm not sure about that one, but okay. Anyway, so we'll have a whole review of a lot of case studies. This is where sort of the light bulb moment for a lot of people, where the light comes on. You see, oh, now I understand some of these concepts and things we've been talking about. So that's the first 2 days through the 6 lessons. And then on Tuesday of next week, our third session, we're going to do more than a pool designer, the design process and a client-centered mindset. And that is key to really, this whole thing lesson 7 through 12 is about how we design. What's the process? We're going to go through a different process than most of you probably do. So looking at ways to think differently through the process. The 8th lesson is the client interview, going through when you're talking with a client, 3+1 keys to starting a project. Setting up a project for success from the very start, go really in depth in the client interview process, what to ask, what to look for, what they're saying, what they're not saying, how you can take something instead of just checklisting and say, okay, that's what they asked for, regurgitate, here it is. Here's where to take it to another level that can completely transform what was asked for. Lesson 9 is where this gets where it kind of throws people off a lot that are computer-based design. We're talking about the concept sketch, where we're going to look at actually stepping away from the computer and don't touch it. Let's do some hand sketching. Not that you have to show a client, not that you have to be an artist, because that's something that most people freak out about, doing something by hand. But as soon as you put the mouse away and pick up a pen, your creativity just starts to, from your brain to your hand, just flows in a way that the computer can't allow that to happen. So we'll go kind of in depth on that process. And then in lesson 10, we're going to get back to the computer, talk about 3D modeling, graphic presentation, how to sell yourself, how to close the deal, really get into some details of thinking differently about that whole process. And there'll be a lot of give and take and questions, and especially in these sessions. Getting close to the end, I think 10, 11, and 12 are the last day. We'll do the more than a pretty picture. That's design development drawings, what Hunter was talking about, seeing the project through construction observation. The design doesn't end when you get a contract and you move on to the next one. The design ends when you're all standing there at the end on the photo shoot day and the project is finished and everyone is happy and the birds are chirping and life is good. That's your goal. And the designer has a role that needs to be played throughout that process, not just move on to the next one and hope and pray it works out. So, and then lastly, we'll do a final project with the course, and we're going to basically follow this same lesson 7 through 11 to create your own design with a site analysis plan, a bubble diagram that we'll talk about, how to do a concept sketch, and then have an opportunity to, if you want to put a model together that's of your design and see what that creates. So I have a full rounded spectrum there. So, and then a little bit more on this class, you got to breaking those parts down. I probably said a lot of it before, but I'll go through the points here. This is an entry-level class. It's creating basic design concepts. So there isn't something this isn't going to pick out above anyone's head, but I also don't make it to where it's so entry level that seasoned advanced designers won't get anything out of it. I do try and meet people where their needs are, especially if we talk in the later, or have questions or whatever. And there's a lot of information throughout that is applicable to all levels of design. And just as a reference to that, I took the version of this class that was offered through Genesis years ago. 2010 was when I took this class. In this same class or version of it completely opened my eyes and transformed the way that I felt and saw and designed and created. And that was in 2010. I graduated with my landscape architect degree in 1998. So I was 12 years in of professional design experience, and but nothing really sort of pool centric in how design relates to what we do day in and day out for the outdoor living residential side. So there's a whole bunch to gain and glean from this class, even if you do have a good bit of design experience. I do like to keep the content up to date with slides and new projects. I like to tell me when I inherited this project, when I was started teaching through the Watershape University side, the previous person that had done it had a slide set that was about 40 slides for this whole program. This is, I think, 400 or so slides at this point. So I've taken it. I love to look at people's work. I love to look at lots of varied people's work. There'll be people, some of my work, but I don't want it to be the talk about Jason show. This is about everyone's in different styles, and there are some amazing designers that are out there, and there's some that you'll see that I'm a huge fanboy of that I put out and show and try and dissect and pick apart what they do and why they do what they do and make it happen. So I've got lots of pictures to keep it interesting and up to date, and try and do some of each year, put some of the award winners, the new stuff that's out there. So keep it very current. And lastly, on this slide, in active participation class, please don't make it just me talking for 4 straight days. Because I mean, I can and I will allow to talk a lot, and it's sorry, but that's not what you're here for. I mean, I want to hear you guys' experience, and y'all talk as well. So if you got questions, let me know. Provide your input and thoughts when you have it, and we can go from there. I will say that because we've got a big class in here, so kind of, and I've got some, you can like say in the chat, hey, I got a question, and Hunter can kind of moderate what that is so that we can keep it flowing and not talk all over each other. But that's a good way. Please do. So don't take that and then not put anything. If you got a question, ask it, and at the right time we'll answer. And then at the end of each lesson, I put time to be able to answer questions. So if I get to a spot and it's not time to answer a question, or something's going to be answered later, then we'll have a sort of a Q&A session after each lesson to talk it out or make sure we're all on the same page. Introduction, the appreciation, fundamentals, processes of good design, why we design, the emotional connection, the what we design, the fundamental elements and principles, and how we design the processes. And so I'm going to have a lot of sort of repetitive things that I mention in slides and then mention it again and mention it again. That's actually intentional, because the more you hear it and the more you see it, the more it sticks in your brain, and the more you start to follow it instead of just one time and gone. So every time I bring up the why, what, and how, and what that is, it's just another chance to cement that in your thoughts. So in the why we design, we're talking about the importance of design, the role the design plays in the success of every project, and the different mentality that you have to think like a designer. And how the design is the factor that separates good projects from the ones that just knock you out, that speak to your soul. When you get to a place, and I teach an advanced design class on this entire concept of what makes this place so great that I just can't leave. Like, it's just so, the moment is there, and I know I need to go and do the, go home and get dinner and whatever else, but I just can't make myself leave. And there are actual things you can design into the space that create those feelings, and it's kind of fun to be able to mess with people that way. Just saying. So, getting back into what we design, we're going to talk about the breakdown of the several classes, the objects and their properties, line, shape, color, texture, space, the spatial theme, the huge consistent shapes throughout the entire design, the framework, balance, sightline, scale, design composition, contrast, emphasis, rhythm, movement, unity, and then bring it all together in case studies. And then the third section or third act is the how we design the process. Again, the same we talked about before. Be more than a pool designer, client interview, hand sketch, graphic presentation, the design development drawings and construction observation, and then we'll have a final project at the end, which should be a fun one. So you're actually, and I'll kind of introduce it quickly of what we'll do. We'll end up using the design fundamentals that we've learned to create three documents that we'll have. One is a site analysis plan, where you get to kind of create your own site with your own features and your own, decide where you want it to be on the beach, in the mountains, in a backyard, whatever. Kind of have some carte blanche to whatever you design, whatever you want. It can be that way, but once you put it there, then it's physically there. It's in law. So bubble diagram, a phase that most people don't do. I'm going to show some of the benefits and advantages of doing a bubble diagram and how to do that. Refined concept sketch plan, sort of a hand sketch that we'll talk through. And then I've got on smaller classes, we'll have a present the design to the class, explain your position, your solution. I've a class this size, I've got to work through exactly how to do that. Maybe it's submit it and I look at a few and we do some or however. So I'm going to have to work through exactly how to work that out. And then finally, I put in here too, and this isn't, some people oftentimes want to do this as you get in the middle of design, you're thrilled with what you're creating and how it is. If you want to do a model of your design, then I'm all for that. And we can look at some of I'll talk through some of the modeling aspects of what makes a good model and details that make those come together. Little bit about me. Someone else in here. And I guess most of you don't know me here, so I guess this is usually I'm like, yeah, whatever, shut up. It's just me. But I'll tell you about my background. I'm a landscape architect is my degree. IWI certified, Waterscape University, SWD was the old Genesis, and now CBDP, just a bunch alphabet soup, all the things I've done in the past and whatever. So I'm an education junkie and love learning and love being part of the experiences. So that's lots of letters. So I am a registered landscape architect, got my degree from Mississippi State University in 1998. I spent 5 years doing what you're supposed to do with a landscape architect degree, which is not residential, apparently. I worked in the the architecture and design firms where you're doing urban planning and sustainable design and hugging trees. I don't know, all the things that go along with that, and smoking funny things and living that. I was in an office and I got miserable. So yeah, it's wanted to gouge your eyes out after a while. So, but the being in an office 24/7, just it felt like Michael Scott was my boss, and it was just I needed a creative outlet because everything I designed ended up not happening, or they wanted to save money or add more lots instead of doing something creative. And I after several years, like I need to do something. So I started doing residential work on the side and had a client and wanted something creative, so I designed, sketched something, and made it happen. It turned out nice, and did a few more and liked it. But still, that was just my little side gig I was playing with until in 2001, I had my first daughter was born. I had a client that came to me that wanted everything. So I wanted a pool and a spa and a pergola and waterfalls and all of it. So the outdoor living, the landscape, the grills, the whole 9 yards. And I had never done all that. So this was new to me. And I let him know that and said, that's fine. I don't care. I want you to do it anyway. Thankfully. So I literally, as I was saying before, I didn't know a damn thing about pools. So I called pool builders out of the phone book and ended up with Blue Haven Pools in Memphis, Tennessee, where I was, and Alan Humes, who was a furniture salesman about 6 months before and had a big Hawaiian shirt with the smoke stains all over it. That was he was my introduction to the pool world. But it actually went very well, despite the what one think was given that setup. Designed it, they built it, moderately correct, I suppose, because it still is there today. Um, and really stood there at the end when it was all done and put together, and the client was thrilled, and he had like 130, 140,000, which in that day was a lot of money. That we did the whole thing, and man, when I stood there with him and his arm around me, or my arm around him because I'm bigger, was it was like this moment of, this is it. This is what I want to do with my life and my world. I have found it, and it's not what I'm supposed to do by the rules of landscape architecture and what's prestigious. And I can give a rip about all that stuff. So I basically hung out my shingle the next week, started my own thing, and quit my day job and said, boom, all right, I am now a residential landscape architect designer. Which wasn't just an immediate thing where everyone started rushing for me to do their backyards. Maybe some of your stories as well. Market and what you can charge for things started to come into play, and it was very difficult to charge design fees in a place like Memphis, Tennessee. People would balk over $500 for design when everyone else is giving away for free. I'm sure many people can understand how that element goes. So I started working with the pool builders, and I would do the design, I would do the sales, I would do the whole thing on that, and then they would do the project, and I would get a few scraps or whatever. That kind of sucks. So I started doing the landscape. Fine, landscape architect, or anything about landscape, I'll do the landscape. So I became a landscape contractor, picked up a landscape crew. Now, fairness, and Chad will laugh at me on this, I'm not really the guy that does the work. I'm much better at the pointing figure, and this should go here, do that, than I am the digging the holes and the doing the thing. So when I say I was the landscaper, I became the supervisor of the landscape. And then that turned from landscape into hardscape, where I started doing the decking and patios and all that. And by 04, I have a just insatiable curiosity to learn and figure out more stuff. And I knew some of the pool builders I was working with didn't really know what the heck they were doing. So I started learning all about pools and taking classes and going there. And then I became a pool contractor in 04, 05. So then I pissed all the pool contractors I was working with off, but I didn't care at that point. Fine. So I became a design build contractor. And it did well. Really, about 05 was kind of when I started, doing it all in-house and doing things. And I did some fun projects and won awards and did cool stuff and designed things and had a moderately good time with it, except for the fact that I'm a designer and not a contractor. And it's two different mindsets in a lot of cases. And when you just get flat out honest with yourself, you say what I'm good at and what I'm not that good at. I'm a pretty damn good designer. I was a marginal contractor, and dealing with this truck broke and this guy's smoking pot and this guy didn't do what. And I mean, all the someone shoved, it's just, it turned into, what am I doing? And the company was running me and I wasn't running the company. And to the point that I would spend all day, like be 10 p.m. and I was just dealing with contractor issues all day. And I've got like 5 designs to do, and I really would like to do it. I'm like so tired. It's like, fine, just mail it in and not doing the clients a service. It's like, I'm stuck. I don't know what I'm doing. And really that was about 2010, 2011, at a point where I just was like, I don't know what to do. And that's when I started taking classes. And went to my first, it's Genesis at the time, Watershape University now. Kind of, I'd seen it for years. I said, I should do that. That would be great to do, but I just never did. If I was, screw it, I'm just doing it. And it was an eye-opening experience to see there were designers that did work all over the country that just designed and got paid really good money to design. And they got to be part of the project. They didn't have a responsibility of having to do all of the construction of it. And it's like, that's what I want to do. Sign me up. Where do I figure that out? So and kind of long story, probably longer, I ended up basically sitting down. I kind of had my epiphany moment of, I'm done. I don't want to do what I'm doing anymore. So I called my biggest competitor in Memphis at the time and sat down at Starbucks. We knew each other professionally, not as good friends. We're friends now, but I basically sat down. He was there, and he had his iPad at Starbucks, and there is no reason I should tell you this. I'm a fool for telling you, but I'm done. I don't care. I'm not interested. I'm done. And he heard my spiel, and then he smiled, and then he flipped his iPad around and showed it was some of my work and some design awards I'd won and all that. And he's like, I want to do that. I want to do cool stuff. He's tired of doing 18 by 36 and 20 by 40s and three bubble no troubles, and wanted to do something interesting. So it ended up being a pretty good marriage for a while. I basically sold out my construction side to him, did his design for a period of time until my work started getting more national and regional and doing things outside of the Memphis area. I moved to Nashville in 2014, really sort of reinvented completely. I got away from all of it, just me and a computer again, which was nice to be outside of all of the headaches of employees and everything else. And some of you may be in that space as well. But so I started over strictly as design, no construction, don't do any of it. And that's when I got all of my certifications through all the things at that point, and started teaching in about 2017. And that's about when I sort of met Chad as well. We started doing some projects. He's a contractor as well, and did he moved to Nashville about the same time from Florida, which I think he'll tell his story in a minute. But we started, gave him a shot, did some stuff, and we liked each other. We became friends, and then we did more together. And it's like we started dating, and eventually we, kind of got engaged. And now we're not the same company, but we share an office. We do everything together, and really, anything that I do in the Nashville area, for a lot of part, he does, because it's just he's a good builder and does a good job, and it ties that in. So that's the relationship we have, and through part of the work that my work was going into. I work with builders all over the country. Some of you, Gerson, Scott, several of you here that I've done some jobs with. And as I'm going around, I'm meeting people and seeing sort of this huge need, and beyond the classes I'm teaching, of there's more out there, that there's so much knowledge that's needed, and people are desperate to get it and learn it, but there's not a great avenue that people take advantage. And that was where we started Elevate Events with Chad and I together about 2 years ago, year and a half ago, were the seed of an idea. In fact, I believe I was in the truck with Gerson down here in Atlanta one time when we had some of our early calls of, hey, this is, going to start happening, and what are we going to make it happen? That was a good moment then too. But anyway, so I've talked about myself too long, but we do through this now. I teach design, construction, hydraulics, sales, all the stuff through Elevate, and that's sort of the goal, that not just through Watershape, but to open up a new opportunity through Elevate. So, okay, too much about me. Sorry. Now, let me go back one more. Where'd it go? Nope, forward. Let's talk about who's here. I want to hear you guys' story. First, and I always have this slide in this class when I taught it before. There are 4 groups of people that are usually in this class. We kind of see where, here, when you talk about yourself, put yourself in one of these baskets and let us know where you are. First is the designers, professional designers. You've got a design background, landscape architects. Your world, you've been designing for years. You know what's going on. One of the benefits that those people, including that was me when I took this class, validate what you already know. It actually puts words in your mouth instead of intuitive. You can actually say, okay, now I understand why I'm doing this, not just I see it this way. Different perspectives and ideas. I've met great designers from all over the country through some of these classes that see things differently, and I get as much from talking to a lot of them as they do to me. So it's a very good thing. And then if there's specific insight to residential pool design, especially, or details that you feel like you've got a lack of knowledge in that, and those are things we can talk about and try and get those pieces. One of the typically main thing, and this may not be this class, but a lot of what I deal with in here is pool contractors. that are not designers, but your background is in construction and you're wanting to do it right. Design is a foreign language, not what you normally, we'll talk a lot about that in a little bit, about what you normally deal with. You understand design is important, but not sure why decisions are made. And that's Chad and I deal with that a lot. Past projects may be perfectly constructed, but you end up with this kind of, it's fine. It's a job, it's a job, whatever. It's not that exciting. And then a lot of pool contractors have had bad experiences, especially with landscape architects. Sorry if anyone is in here is in LA. I am too. That don't really know what they do, or we don't do that, or can't build, or they undersell it because they don't understand it. So that's some things we like to try and help. Probably a lot of you in this class are more into the pool sales side, which is that you may not have a formal design education degree, but you work in design every day. I always call this like a in the trenches position, where you're trying to balance, you're the one that's talking to the client, you're the one dealing with what they want, but you're also dealing with the realities of construction and schedules and budgets and people on the other side. It's a sandwich position where your homeowners wanting something, your contractors wanting something else, and you're trying to be the middleman and make everyone happy and all that. That can be difficult. One thing that I like to try and do for that position is provide confidence in the decisions that you make and understand the why you're designing what you're doing. So you can stand up to the contractor side, or you can stand up to the homeowner side and say, this works and here's why. In the last group that's often in this class sometimes is you'll have some service guys, some company owners, some reps, just industry people that are trying to get a more well-rounded feel of what all the parts of the industry and the importance of design into it. Oftentimes there's one or two of that person, if at all. So that said, I'm going to stop the share, and I'm going to let you guys speak for a minute so I can shut up. So, anyone want to go first? I want to hear a little bit about you, your background, where you're from, where you live, your design experience, and then something. I said on the last time of this class, what's your one random fact that makes you you? So try and learn a little bit about you guys. So I'm not going to call names unless people don't start talking. Then I'm just going to pick people and say your turn to go. So
should I go?
Jared,
how you doing, guys? I'm Jarrett. I from Wayne, New Jersey, North Jersey. I work for Manila Landscape. I'm the lead designer there. I started out 4 or 5 years ago now. I mostly do, like we were talking about, pool sales. I'm mostly just pool and hardscape sales. We have a big focus on hardscape, but we do a lot of different projects. We basically take everything on. And one fact is that I started here when I was 19. I was the lead designer after the previous lead designer quit on us randomly. So they threw me into the position, and I had no experience whatsoever. So needless to say, quite a few years later and a couple of awards now, it's been a good trip.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. That's the ultimate, trial by fire. If
Oh yeah.
Might as well. Yeah. Sure enough. Good luck. Sink or swim. So very good. We'll have some things to give some terms to what you do on a daily basis. Good.
I can go. This is Rob Scott.
How's it going,
Can you hear
Rob?
me now? Okay.
Yep, go for it.
I'm in Austin, Texas, and the company Hines, my brother-in-law, started in '86. Started out as a service company, and that's still a large part of our business. We do residential, commercial service, maintenance. We maintain roughly 1,000 pools a week, and then we got into always have been doing renovations, but more plaster tile coping type renovations. In 2013, my brother-in-law bought a plaster company, a PebbleTech applicator, and at the time I was coming out of the tech industry. I'd been in sales in the tech industry and been through ungodly number of mergers and layoffs and mergers and layoffs. And so he said, "Hey, I just bought this company. I want to grow the renovation side of it. Do you want to do it?" And I'm like, "Great." So jumped in, started selling plaster and tile coping, and no experience, jumped in to learn, took the CBP, class at one of the Vegas shows, and learned a lot, and that really helped. But then continued doing that and grew it to the point where the general manager of the plaster company said, "Hey, I don't want to deal with customers. I just want to be a sub for people." So I jumped back over to the main company, Hines, and started doing the same thing there. Hines had built pools periodically over the years. And so for probably 2020, I really got involved with Watershape University, and have taken, as many classes as I can. I've gotten to the, certified designer and certified builder, stage.
Awesome.
But I've always, I've taken your classes at different events and didn't get to go to Vegas this year to get your most recent one. But when this came about, I was like, anything I can learn from you, I want to learn. And I think, as you mentioned, Watershape starts up here, and there's a lot of basic design terminology and just why do you do that? And that's, because I kind of fall into that pool sales, pool contractor, because we are, I design and I build. I'm like you, I point, I don't, actually, do it, but I point. But the education I've gotten has helped me talk to the contractors, talk to the subs, talk to my own guys and say, "No, we're not doing it that way just because you've done it for 30 years. We're doing it this way, and this is why we're doing it." But on the design side, I haven't really gotten that from any of the classes I've taken. I've understand, color theory and that kind of stuff, but, why are you doing that? I don't have that. So I'm really excited about, getting back to the basics of this class.
Well, good, because I'll do a lot of the why, but that's honestly my biggest thing is everything is a reason behind it, and every decision builds on the previous one. So it's not nothing is arbitrary. So
yeah,
good.
great.
Well, good to have you. And that's two so far. And it's something I should have said earlier. It's something Chad and I talk about all the time. No one gets into the pool industry on purpose. So so far that's two it looks like this is what I'm doing now. Where are we?
Yeah.
So it's
Sink or swim, baby.
There you go. So all right, who's
Rob?
next?
Yeah, I guess I can go next.
Aaron, what's up, man?
Hey, how you doing? Well,
Good.
I don't really work around pools that much, but I design outdoor living spaces. I've designed, I guess, one pool now that's been built.
Very good.
I just, designed it and they subbed the pool, whatever. Actually,
Where are you from?
I'm from Richmond, Virginia.
There you
And
go. Richmond. I have a story about
we need someone from there.
so, yeah, before doing space design and build, I spent almost 20 years in corporate America in the chemical field as an operations manager, shipping chemicals up and down the road. Built my first patio when I was 16. So I got tired of chemicals and went back to the outdoor space. Right now I design and I'm a contractor, physically humping product every day. We're selling designs quite often for, I think, decent money anyway. I started this year, sold one at $100 and $500. A week ago, it was $4,500. So the price is really quick.
We'll go into some cost stuff too. We'll talk about selling this, charging for design and all that. So good.
Awesome. And I've never had a formal design class, just kind of had a knack for it. But being in the outdoor space, I just got asked to design another space with a pool, and it's happening more and more.
Yes, true.
I've not really gone after the pool business, but it's coming.
So, and I'll mention one other thing too on it. This is, and I said it earlier, but I'll bring it. This is not really about pools. Typically, big projects involve some version of a pool or water feature element to it.
Mhm.
So it comes into play. But one of the biggest faux pas that I see most designers do is it becomes all about the pool. And that's one of the whole name of the lesson is you're more than a pool designer. The pool is a part of the design. It's not the design. So you want that to be like it's actually one of the last things I design in a space is the pool is the negative space in between all the other features I want it to be. So this isn't strictly about swimming pools and that's it. It's about seeing the whole space and opening design eyes for it. So
And that's kind of what I thought. I just wanted to take a design class, and I thought it'd be good.
very good. Well, appreciate it. Look forward to working with you, Aaron. Very good. Who's is that Gerson?
That's me.
Speak up.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Barely. You gotta turn your volume up.
Muffled.
How about now?
One more.
Better.
Go for it.
There you go. Can you hear? Good? Thumbs up.
Okay.
Good. So, my name is Gerson Funes, and Brothers Pools Construction is the name of our family business.
Gerson, I can't. Yeah, you're not coming across. Let's.
Garrison, I'll give you a call in a second. Mute yours. I'll call you and see if I can help you out.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Let someone else go. There you go. You just got
Here, I can hop on.
Doug. How's it going?
It's going well. So, I may be an outlier here. This is really my first introduction into pool design. I'm a very accomplished kitchen designer in the Clarksville, Tennessee area.
Excellent.
So I love design. I don't exactly enjoy working with all the contractors and everything of that nature. I've had a chance to work on several outdoor kitchens, and man, I love getting to see the finished product and really sitting down and working on the form and function with the clients. I absolutely love doing it. So I wanted to, try to get a little bit more of a formal education and how can I get my feet into this? So you mentioned, there's that one thing for everybody when, so I am fully certified through the National Kitchen Bathroom Association, and I was at the time when I received certification, one of 7 in Tennessee. So I figured just like you have, I've gone on and gotten certified in one area. Let's keep it going. See if I can't get certified in some others.
Very good.
Good.
All right. Well, I'd love that. So you do interior kitchens has been your background, and some exterior. Is that
correct? Yeah. You name a kitchen, commercial, residential.
By God,
you name it. I've probably done it.
I've really gotten into the outdoor kitchen world a lot more as of late. So I've built a pretty badass myself recently. So I'm pretty excited about it. So
yeah, I'd love to talk to you more about that sometime. I work up in the Nashville area too. So
yeah, very good. All right, nice to meet you, Doug.
Pleasure.
All right, we're gonna give Garrison a shot here again. See if he switches.
How about now, guys?
Oh, listen, you're beautiful.
Perfect. Look at that. These things are not working for some reason.
I'm also an
all right, guys. I'm back at it.
Apparently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Add that to the resume.
So, company name Brothers Pools. We're out of Atlanta, Georgia. Gerson Funes. Started business, my family business, 1993 in Florida. Moved here for the Olympics in 1996 to Atlanta. I grew up with a trowel in my hand as a plaster guy. I mean, I'll be second generation in the business. Shark Creek nozzle man for a couple of years as well. Work with a lot of subcontractors doing hardscapes, pavers, as subs, tile coping, you name it. And we were privileged to work as a family company with the best builders in the Southeast and the worst. So we saw both worlds. So we were able to learn in the construction phase. And, we put our ideas together and used to see plants, used to see the job site. So we would know who would be serious in the game and those guys that weren't. So, but we were subs. As of 2008, I just, I told my brothers and we decided to go into the construction industry and build just because we saw the lack of professionality that our clients or the clients were getting when we used to go to the backyards of subs for these pool builders. And as a company, we had always strive to educate ourselves in NPC as a plaster company, as a hardscape company. We always attended classes, seminars, and things that we're doing now in the construction. Um, Designing for us and for me has been the challenge, and because it's a different breed. It's out of our comfort zone, which is the field. It's more on the desk, more using the brain, selling and understanding the design concepts and the why questions and why is this here, why is that. So that's what we're trying to do to just get a better edge on the design, and definitely appreciative of what you and Chad are doing out there, Jason, with Hunter. So just taking time. I mean, this is valuable time to spend with a good group of people like you guys and just learn and get better. And our client and our industry, it's what's winning here. That's what I see. And we're just privileged to be part of the group and part of the industry and just to strive to be better. That's what I'm happy for.
So Gerson may be the one that actually got into the pool industry on purpose. So he's like
I would say I was.
His great grandfather started a pool company and he's still in it. So there you go.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead. Plastering when he was 4.
What's that?
That's because he started plastering when he was 4 years old.
Yeah, I know.
I did. I just. I still got my blisters on here, and you can see my blisters out there. It's addictive. Yeah.
So I will say, Gerson. One more thing I say, Gerson. I'm doing a project with him now that's cool, and he had and this is where I've done a lot of stuff with people, but he got a project that was unique, a client that was unique, and called me, and I came and met with him, and basically partnered with him to meet with a client, design it, and create something that's unique and special. And we've done it. We're getting close to it's. They're putting stone down and I'm doing the landscape design on it now. So we're working on one that I think, and I'll throw this out there just for numbers. But I think you said before, it's like when we met with the client, they're like said the first time, it was like, there's no way I'm spending more than $400,000. Just no way. Like, okay, whatever. But what do you want? And some of the stuff we'll talk about, the client, you can see their lifestyle and how the budget isn't really the budget and all those things. What is that one now?
It's a little bit over 1.6.
1.6 million now. Yeah. So they had it, they wanted it, they just didn't know what they wanted yet. And once you can really show them what it is now, and they're thrilled because it's coming together very nicely. So anyway.
That a boy, Jason.
Well, hi guys. I'm Michelle. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes.
Okay. I'm in Las Vegas, and I again got into the industry by accident. And so I work for a landscape company, but I started at the nursery. So just because I love plants, and that's where the owner of the company found me, was at the nursery. And he just said, hey, you're really good with people. You know your plants and trees. Come work for us. So he basically one-on-one taught me the design. And I've always been a little creative with other things. So it actually was a really good fit. So, and then we also do designs for a pool company as well. So we do everything from outdoor kitchens. We do, we use mostly Belgard material. Now we're using a lot of porcelains. So we do really beautiful outdoor spaces that are just so fun to design. And again, in Las Vegas, a lot of people have swimming pools, so the pools are a big portion of it as well. But our difficulty is the small, tight spaces. A lot of these people that come here to retire that have the budget for these projects are crammed in a little yard. So it gets really creative trying to make everything that they're requesting, work into the space. But I just, no degree, just got into it by accident, but doing very well. And I love my job. I love the industry. I've worked with really good subs. I've worked with really bad subs. I do a lot of project managing as well. So again, my boss is really big on making the culture of the industry better, even just, working with subs and having people on their properties and just respecting them and taking care of things. So it's fun, and we're here to learn, and we're excited.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Michelle.
Appreciate it,
Yeah.
Michelle. Very good. So, yeah, that's a big part. So another glad to have you.
Thanks.
Mhm.
I'll go.
So next.
Oh.
Yep. Okay. I'm Jeff Birdwell, Zoe Pools in Edmond, Oklahoma. And I first got in the industry when I was 18 with a pool company in Plano, Texas that they sold the chemical side to apartments and hotels. And then they had another side that built residential pools. And I started out doing counter sales, then went cleaning pools for them. 18 years old, 20 years old. I got fired for drinking on the job, but it lit a fire. Imagine that.
We love honesty, man.
Very honest, very honest. But that thing that lit it, and it's one of those things. That was 25 years ago. This company in Plano, Texas, has grown to do outdoor water parks. It's like, damn it, if I would have acted right 25 years ago. But anyway, it lit a fire into me. Then I, as we fall into things, unnaturally, I fell into the rain gutter business and owned and still do own and operate a rain gutter company here in Edmond, Oklahoma. And, the flame burned out after about, 22 years of that. And I knew that my number one passion was pools and outdoor environments and everything like that. So I took a job selling pools for a builder here, for a production builder here, and kind of realized that, man, they're not client focused. They don't really care about the client experience, and that's just not me. I couldn't handle that. So it's like, I know how to run a business. I think I want to do this on my own. So about 9 months, I took that leap and created Zoe Pools. We got 3 pools that are under construction, 1 completed, and probably about 6 or 7 remodels that we did. So it's gone great. It really has. I found out about Watershapes University about 2 years ago. And since I just want to be the best I can be at the industry, I got hooked up with those guys. I met Jason and Hunter in Denver this past summer. And quick story on that, 2 weeks ago, guys, this is crazy. This is where the networking of this comes into play here. There's a company out of Denver that we all went and looked at their pool that did the hydro floors, twinscape floors. Yes. And there was this client that was in Western Kansas that couldn't find anybody to build their calls, and they build their pool, and they called Equality, and Equality referred me, and this project might be 1.2 million in Western Kansas, just because Equality remembered me from Denver, and that's pretty incredible.
There you go. Very good. I know it's not what you know, it's who you know, baby.
Jason and Hunter, I'll be calling y'all for that design. Trust me. So
come on, let's do it. Clear it up.
But anyway,
Chad's doing a hydrofloor, and that's where he just got back today. A hydrofloor in Knoxville.
Those things are so awesome. Those are so cool.
Yeah, so I'm all about helping. It's all good.
So cool.
Yep.
I see that CB is on here. Shout out to CB Stanley. I took a couple of Zoom classes with him to try to get up to speed in Pool Studio. I design in Pool Studio. He's incredible, guys. So if you guys can ever hook up with CB personally like that, CB, I got to get back with you. One of those classes, man. CB is incredible. But I am here. I just went to the advanced design with Jason in Vegas, but I am here because I love the fact that this is ground floor. Couldn't have said it better that Watershape does kind of start, at it, even their essential is kind of, a little higher. I was talking to Hunter, I just want to know what you guys walk into a backyard, you see elevation or anything like that. What does your mind think? What are you looking at? How do you split the elevations? Where do you this is awesome. I just want to go inside y'all's minds and just see how you create and design. So I'm excited about this. I'm excited about all the 8 courses you'll be offering, Jason. Just excited to keep advancing in this industry.
All right. Well, love you, Jeff. Good. Good deal. So thanks. Appreciate it. So good deal. Let's keep going. We probably don't have a chance to get to everyone because I don't want to spend the whole time in such a big class. So if you know, but I do want to hear from some more of you. If you've got something you want to say, let's hear it. So no.
I'll jump in really quick. My name's Hunter. I own a company, Haven Outdoors. We're outside of Nashville on the west side, Kingston Springs. I'm one of those dreaded landscape, hardscape contractors that, slowly got into the pools. Our project slowly started elevating, and I kind of took it as a next step, jumping into the pools. No family in the business or anything like that. So I've kind of jumped into like Waterscape University. I'm very early with that. Did some Genesis classes a few years ago, and then really looking forward to what Jason and Chad are doing here. We typically use third-party designers, and I really just kind of want to understand the design world a little bit more to kind of help guide our projects. Yeah, just excited to be here and appreciate everything you're doing.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Hunter. Look forward to talking to you more. Good deal.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I got you, Carol Ann.
Hi. I'm Carol Ann. I live in North Bay, Ontario, in Canada, where we have about 2 feet of snow now. So our design season is a lot shorter than yours. I'm actually coming at this through more of a creative design perspective. I actually went to school in fine arts, but back then that didn't bring home a paycheck. So I ended up working as an executive assistant for my career, and did some accounting and got to know business very well. And came to a point where I just couldn't sit in a chair anymore and needed to be outdoors. I'd been gardening very creatively, like throughout all of my home ownership periods, and had been taking like landscape design courses through community programs and things like that. At one point, I decided that I wanted to start taking some university courses. So I've been working my way through landscape design diploma. I've got about 7 courses down at the university level. And I actually was working on my backyard in the house that we moved in here in 2017. We have a really steep elevation between our yard and the neighbors, about 8 feet, drop over 8 feet depth. And so pretty much like a 45-degree angle there. And I was calling different contractors to have them try and help us out with the retaining wall. And I'd been designing back then. I used to do real-time landscaping, and I had an idea of what I wanted, and I was bringing in some contractors. And one contractor, I showed him my plan, and he said, "Well, you're hired." I said, "Well, what do you mean I'm hired? Like, I'm not for hire. I want your opinion on what to do with my yard." And finally, the retaining wall turned into a pool built of ICF, which is a nice solid wall there. And so I have a beautiful lap pool that acts as a retaining wall. And I did start working with the contractor, not as an employee, but we have like a mutual referral agreement where I just design for him, and he refers clients to me. So I've been designing about 2.5 years now, evolved to VIP 3D and Structure Studios. I just really fell in love with it, and it's a natural progression for me. My love of the outdoors, the creative aspect, coming together with like all of the business stuff that I've learned. And I did some branding last year, started a website, And now I'm just at the point where contractor is not keeping up with the amount of designs I'm producing, and things are starting to lag on his end, and I kind of have to think of where I'm going to go with things. And I'm just kind of searching for my next step.
Very good. Well, hope we can be something you can look at for there, so learn some things and see where it takes you. So very good.
Yeah.
So appreciate
Thanks.
you, Carol. Let's do one or two more, and then I'd say if the next break we'll do some more of this. I know we've got a lot. Let's just do like one more if anyone else wants to say now, and then we'll get going in the some of the stuff because it's such a big class. So whoever's gonna,
I can
anyone
go
else want
if
to
it's
jump
okay.
in? Laura, please.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Fine, thanks. Sorry about my English, but it's not my
You're good.
language. I'm from Mexico City. I'm being manager. I'm an architect in an architectural firm here. And I also made design development with JC Designs.
With JC and Liliana.
Liliana, yes.
Oh yeah, we love them. They're great.
Yeah, I know. Good guy. Big water shape guys. So,
Yes. So, well, I'm here because I want to get more involved in the industry and bring some of the methodology of BIM and Revit to that. So I'm open to learn everything about tools because I only do big building design. So it's a new area.
very good. So you do Revit and so architectural drawings?
Yes.
So,
My new best friend, Laura.
there you go, Hunter. We just got set up on Revit this week. So Hunter may be called Laura for some understanding there. Very good. We've been using SketchUp, but we're moving to Revit too. So, but good stuff. So, okay.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right. Well, I'll make another when we have a break after a while. I'll kind of have when we start back up. We'll let a few other people that haven't said anything to give a chance. But I do want to move on, so we're not just doing. It's such a big class; it's hard to get everyone in. So apologies for anyone if you want to say anything. We'll still make time for it. So all good. Well, I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going to get into share. Here's that sharing. Everyone see. Full Design 101 design is? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Okay. So, okay. We're going to start where at the beginning and start really at the high level stuff. The first act or the first part of what I want to talk about, and it's really the motivation, the fact of what we do is special. And what we do is unique, and we're not selling insurance, and we're not just turning, reading numbers or doing something. It's design is what, and there's so many things that design is, and we're going to go through some of that in this first lesson. Let me go here. There you go. So the lesson one outline design is the transformative role that plays in our lives, how it can transform our projects and our careers. We're going to talk about why we design. Why is always the most important, the reason for what we do. And then we'll look at some projects sort of as we transition into what we design and learn the tools of what makes a space special, what makes some spaces amazing and speak to our soul. And we start to break down and see what those are. So that's the three parts we'll talk about here. But first, I'm going to talk about a story about design is seeing things differently. And we're going to talk about one of the most transformative designers of our generation is probably not who you would expect. It's not Frank Lloyd Wright. It's not Frederick Law Olmsted. It's not anyone else of that nature. It is Steve Jobs, who's not a space designer, an architect, but he is a designer. And the design mind, he's a product designer and creating some things that his brain works in ways, in a design way that is actually fascinating when you study some of his things, some of his ways he does. He was kind of a jerk to a lot of people, so there's a lot of that too. But but his brain is an amazing thing, the playground to think through when you're a design aspect. And I can tell a story about him. Started in 1997, where Apple was at the time. Apple was competing with IBM and Microsoft in the 90s. Those were the biggest competitors. And when they started out fairly strong, in 1993, they had 14% of the market share, but they were getting beaten up, and that had dwindled down to 3% by 1997. They were in a bad place, and they only had 90 days worth of cash left, and they were on the verge of bankruptcy and going under. And they had actually fired Steve Jobs 10 years before, or 12 years before, in 1985, because he was kind of an ass. But they let him go when he ended up starting his own thing, I think Next Step, and he created an operating system and did his own deal. But Apple had run itself into the ground. And in 97, they ended up basically reacquiring Steve Jobs' company that he had started. And then he became then chairman of the board. So he kind of went back to his original company in a coup, if you will. But he didn't inherit something good. He inherited a disaster that was falling apart and literally about to come apart at the seams. One of the biggest problems was their advertising. It was horrible. And a few examples of what that looked like. I mean, this is what they were producing at the time in ads. There were all these different market, price driven, product focused. Look at what this computer will do. Rush to the bottom. If that sounds familiar, how do we compete against price when all of our competitors are $1,000 cheaper? How do we go a little bit lower? What differentiates ourselves? None of that works, and it wasn't working for Apple, and they were losing big time because of it. So Steve came in and completely reimagined and said, just stop all of this that we're doing. Just turn the marketing off completely. Let's look at it from a completely different way. And he came up with what ends up being the most influential ad potentially of our, like in the 90s and beyond, for Apple for sure. But one of the ad campaigns that changed the course of, our country in a way. It's not even hyperbole considering all the products that they envisioned. And it was this: think different. Be different. Get rid of marketing by product and think about where your entire company is going. What message are you sending as the company? And here's the ad. And I hope this works with sound. I'll play it.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. But the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
The people that are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones that do. Let's see if I can go up. There we go. That 1 minute ad completely transformed Apple. And within several years, like 2 years, they literally doubled their volume. So I think they went from like 2 million to 2 billion to 5 billion at that point. And it was the decision to think about design and think about simplicity and think about where you stand and what you want to do, and have the boldness to think differently than anyone else, that literally set the platform for all the products that we do and that we use every day. And some of the posters that were part of that ad campaign were Picasso, Thinking Differently, and Armstrong on the Moon, Hitchcock, Einstein, and Henson, and Muhammad Ali, and the list went on. But that decision to get away from rush to the sell, cheapest, how do we fight with everyone else, and decision to think differently and find what makes them unique and focus on design instead of money. And it literally changed the world for Apple and changed us. That led immediately to the iPod, and then the iPhone, and then the iMac and the MacBook and the iPad and your Apple Watch and your earbuds or AirPods. I call them earbuds because my kids make fun of me when I say that. Though what they did changed the course of a company and changed everyone's lives because they focused on being different. Here's another ad part of that too. And I like this. I've had this one in this for a while because it looks at different perspectives and thinks things differently. So one more video here.
Oh. Break time.
He's showing a thing. For the little while that I had my video on, he came and sat on me. She wanted to be on TV. She was so cute. I don't know where she went.
So I've always liked that ad because it's really focused on how things are different and how different perspectives come in and how you see things differently. And it's the name. Hang on. There we go. Next. How does all this relate to design? Design is different. It's seeing the world differently through design eyes, through different eyes. It is a different language. When we talk design, it's not the same thing as when we talk about construction. Construction language is very measured and specific and factual. It's A plus B is C. It's logical left brain thinking, very linear in your processing. If you relate construction language, its subject would be similar to mathematics. And for a lot of us in the room, and me included, when I really dove into learning construction deep, it can be very confusing and overwhelming and requires intense focus and determination to grasp the concepts. Especially when it got into hydraulics and all that. I mean, that's a lot that goes to it. It's hard from a design brain to be able to focus in on the very analytical side that is the construction side. It's the construction language. Design language is the opposite of that. It's emotional. We'll talk a lot about emotions. So very touchy-feely. It's relational. A plus B is C, but only if D is greater than E in proportion to X and Y. But then you consider Z, that throws the whole off and you start over. Very similar to psychology in a subject. It's creative, right brain thinking, hierarchical thinking, where it's not just follows a line. There's different levels that you go into based on how you feel. And vice versa, where as designers, or a lot of us, that's sort of the world we live in and how we operate and how we see the world. When contractors take a design course, it's uncomfortable. Like, where am I? What are you people talking about? I just want to talk numbers and math and all that. It requires out of the box thinking and really to grasp the concepts that aren't common for contractors to understand. So it's two completely different languages that we focus on, and we have to learn to speak both of them. Design is integral for success. And this is a huge part of what I've been teaching for a long time. There's three parts of every project that are needed that have to be in place. And if not, you're setting yourself up for failure. That is the construction, the engineering, and the design. If you don't have those, you're in trouble. And that's where, there we go. What happens when you have good construction? You don't have good construction. You begin with a creative, unique design. You have precise structural, hydraulic engineering plans. Everything is set up for success. But then, as several you mentioned before, we've all dealt with it. You get that bad contractor or bad sub. They don't know the correct construction procedures or can't effectively manage their subs. That project is destined to fail. And typically it fails by crumbling over time. And it'll have this will stop working, or the veneers will fall off, or something will break. It isn't built well, and that will end up being a failure over time. What happens if you don't have engineering? Let's say you start with a creative, unique design. It's constructed to a super high standard and built right, but no one considered the geotechnical underneath, the soil stability that's there. No one did the hydraulic engineering plan. They just put 2-inch pipes around the thing to run all the systems. And you think it's great, it's built beautifully, whatever. And then you click the systems on and it fails on a spectacular level. This is where you get into catastrophic failures and lawsuits and expert witnesses. And you never want Paulo to show up on a courtroom against you. So just so you know, that's what happens when you don't have engineering. But what happens when you don't have design? You can have a project that has precise structural hydraulic engineering plans. It's perfectly designed. It can be built by one of the best contractors in the country to the highest standard. But if it doesn't inspire or fit seamlessly within its surroundings, it's going to miss the mark. It'll be considered a failure. When you get there in the end, it's like, it's nice. It's all right. Good. It's good. It's fine. It's fine. It's not fine. When it misses the mark and you've got a site that could have been incredible and something, a client that wanted something unique, and you just gave them what you always do, it misses the mark. And what ends up happening, it typically, especially on upper end projects, that project will last for a couple of years, and then they'll rip it out and start over. So that's just as much of a failure as a construction falling apart or bad engineering. You have to have all three parts in play to make a design successful. Design is the process from concept design from the very beginning through project completion. It's a vision, a skilled eye to see the end product before it is built. But even more so than the ability to see it, and that's something that some of us have intuitively. You can just go to a spot and say, boom, that's what it needs to be. But even if you can see it, if you can't communicate what that vision is to both your client and your contractor, then you've missed the mark as well. It won't ever turn out to be the vision that's in your head that you see. So communication is a huge part of the design process. It's an understanding, a firm grasp of all the elements and principles of design, and knowing which elements to use and why they work seamlessly together. This is the tools in your toolbox. And this is what we're going to focus on the rest of this evening, is how to start weaving these parts and say, this one will work here. Ooh, what if I did this here? This could be a really cool spatial theme that I did based on the architecture of the house. When you start understanding how it all ties together and plays in, then you're setting yourself up for success. Thirdly, design process is a presence. It's a constant presence on the project, from concept design through the final completion, ensuring the vision is understood and followed by all. It's not turn it over to all the contractors and say, oh, well, I hope it works. Boom, there you go. It's staying involved through design development drawings. It's being on the project to make sure it's happening. Everything is going well. So very important to have a continual presence in the design. Design is evident to your clients. Your clients will absolutely tell the difference between a project that is well designed and one that's just typical. Our clients today, especially, they're the internet and everything they've gone and seen and done and traveled, they know good design when they see it, and they especially know when they don't get a good design. People pay a lot of money for great design. I mean, go right back to the Apple products before. They're not cheap. They're simply put together and clean, but they are the most complex devices there are. They're well designed, and people will line up, literally stand outside to get the newest version of whatever the next device is. And this is a huge part of what I teach. A large investment on your client's sake, and they expect to be provided a design solution that is unique, creative, and spectacular. This is a big deal to them. It needs to be treated as such, and not just whichever project that we're doing next Tuesday, the Wilson residence. Design is important for your business. Being able to speak knowledgeably about design gives you credibility in your client's eye, like immediately. When you go into a client's house and you can start talking about the sight lines and the features and how the layout is and all the different parts, especially the architecture of the house, what style of house it is, what makes that style, immediately you're an expert. And they start out as skeptical because our industry has made everyone skeptical. But if you can start talking design language and lingo and confidently speak about the vision that you have for their project, you're saying, you know what, I see this, I got something on this. I know what we can do here. Just wait. You're setting the bar high, and you're setting yourself up for a good solution. But you also have to have confidence that your design skills are up to the task and that you can produce and follow through with the vision that you're presenting. And that's what we're going to talk a lot about. The ability to create unique and creative designs takes you out of the bid cycle and puts your company on a level of completely apart from your competition. So if you're competing with this guy was $1,000 cheaper, this guy was $5,000 more, and whatever, if that's your competition, you're competing on price. That goes back to the Apple ad of where they were in 1997, where rush to the bottom. How much is it going to cost? How much can I save? But if instead you focus on what can I do to make their lives better? How can I improve the space? How can I improve my client's life by creating something that no one has thought of before? You make a condition where they can't not choose you. And that's one of the best situations of all. Learning design fundamentals changes the way you view the world. Once you see the world through design eyes, and we'll talk a lot about that towards the end of this section, you can't unsee it. You can't go back and see a space without breaking it down into the fundamentals. I've had people that have taken this class that have never thought about it before, and they'll call me or contact me or email me later and be like, I just see things differently. I'm picking it apart. It's like driving my wife nuts, and I can't shut up about it. So that's my life as well. But design is the difference maker. It takes projects from good to great. And this is when you have, as a contractor, as a builder, as a designer, do you feel like all your projects look and feel the same? They're just in a different backyard? It's the 3 bubble no trouble, or the 20 by 40 garden style rectangle? It's just same stuff, different day? Do you have difficulty understanding and working in different styles? One of the favorite things I have is to have multiple projects going, and each one in a very different style, because you get lost in the details of that style, like a Colorado wooded stone boulder, fir trees, natural style design on one, in the morning. In the afternoon, I'll have one that's going into more European symmetry, tying in, and how the lines work and the balance plays off of each other. And how completely the different materials play is really cool to be able to do. Why do the same companies keep winning all the awards, and you submit something and it never even gets the time of day? I've heard this from a lot of companies. They're just, what is it? Well, the design is the differentiator. That's what makes it come together. Do you have creative ideas in your head, but you're too afraid to go bold with an idea in a project because you question whether the end product will actually work? You have to know it'll work before you do it. Or you're just scared to pull a trigger on it because what do people say? If you are able to stand on good design principles and understand what that is, then there's nothing to hold you back. Do you wonder what it is that takes projects from good to great and outstanding? And how do you get to the situation where a client can't not choose you? That's a phrase I use a lot, and I've had it several times. Actually, one of the biggest compliments that I get is not really a compliment. It's more of a concession on a client. So I've had multiple projects where I've designed a space and done something kind of different or over the top or whatever it is, and the client will like it. And sometimes it takes a while for them to understand all the intricacies of what's working, what's going on in there, and they're having that mental conversation of, how much is this going to cost? Can I afford, what all that's going on? And, rarely do you sit down, they just like, okay, sign a contract, look, here you go. When you do this upper level, it's they think about it, consider it, whatever. And they'll go dark sometimes. I have a client that'll just be like, yeah, disappear, not answer a call, whatever. Like, okay, well, I guess you're not ready, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden I'll get a call back. It's like, damn it. Damn you. It's like, what did I do? Why are you calling? Why are you mad at me? And he's like, man, I tried so hard. I called some other people. I tried to get other people to do it, and no one gets it. No one can see it. No one is following what you presented something, and now I can't not do that. If you can get to the point where a client, even when they try, they can't not choose you because the design is unique, creative, special, meets their needs, does something that they weren't expecting, and no one else is able to do it, it becomes where do I sign? I don't care what it costs. That's the design. Design is emotional. A great design speaks to our soul when we experience the space where you just can't tear yourself away and leave. Those are huge emotions that it's playing off of, and really the way that you can weave the elements and principles of design, it's all a process, and that's what we're going to really study today. and also Thursday, is the structures of the design and the elements, the composition that tie it together. It's all intentional, and it lies just below your visual perceptions. It's in your subconscious, where you don't, when you're in a space and it makes you feel something, that's the designer intentionally doing something to make you feel that way. And when you can strip it away and start to see what those are, it's really a cool process. And it's toying with your emotions and giving you something. Is this making me feel peaceful, relaxed, serene? Is it making me feel impressed and grandiose? What is this feeling I get when I'm in a space? It's crafted intentionally by the designer to make it happen. And we have that power to do that. So why do we design? We design to inspire. What are we inspiring? Well, ourselves, for one. We're doing this, and that's one of the joys of what we do. We're not selling insurance. We're not crunching numbers. We're not producing, nuts and bolts. We're not, selling some random product, chemicals. I think someone said, on there. What we do has a purpose. What we do has a meaning, and it's something that makes people's lives better. And that is a rewarding. That's what hooked me when I got to the point. Even in design, I was just designing things that never happened. I just literally wanted to gouge my eyes out and just die. But when I could actually do something that meant something to this family and tied in, and it went from my brain into the yard and made it happen right in front of me, and then you're standing there and this experience is out there. I mean, that's real, and that's inspiring for ourselves, for our peers when they see the work that we're able to do, and your family and everyone's there. I mean, there's some attaboy moments that are pretty impressive when you get to create some really amazing, cool stuff. Really, more importantly, though, it's inspiring to our clients that when you show them how they can live and do something different, and they can, it's an amazing experience. Our reputations, how we're transforming the ability to just go from what everyone does to something special. We design to enrich our clients' lifestyles. Mentioned this a few times and a little more. This is a large client investment. The biggest thing they do, other than the cost of the house, this is the most they're going to spend on just about anything. It's more than lavish weddings and expensive vacations and college tuition and all those together. This is a big deal. What we do can have a huge impact on their lives. And if we craft and create experiences to enjoy with their others, their family, their friends, you have enriched their lives in ways that's meaningful. And then also, I think you create what they don't even know they want yet. When you can see something that says, get to know the client, know that their kids are this way and like a certain thing, and there's a feature that you can include that they didn't mention it, they don't know what it exists, but you do, and you can include that and start talking about it, and then see them enjoy it. I mean, it enriches their lives. Designed to extend their living environments into the exterior. Literally, this is something Chad and I have done a lot with on some of the big jobs we've done, is you show them the area that we're dealing with and the outside space, and compared to, like, from a drone picture from the area of the house, you're literally doubling the living area of their home. When you can erase the line between the inside and out and make it flow, just where you go from the inside and the outside, it all turns into one space. You may have the Four Seasons room or wall or something, but even visually, it draws you out from the end to the outside, beckons you and makes you stay in that space, and then turn around and look back at the house. Your house just got 8,000 square foot bigger, 10,000 square foot bigger, because you're using all of those spaces now. I just did my backyard, and it's a typical residential backyard. We never went in our backyard. Now we don't go in the house without going into the backyard, because it's so many things to do and experience and live and enjoy, and the water features, fire features, all comes together. So draw the family outdoors to experience their lives in new ways, and you create family moments of togetherness. It extends their life outside. Designed to enhance the natural characteristics of the canvas or the site that we're working on. Every job is unique in its own way. It has assets, it's got limitations, it's got good, it's got bad, it's got ugly. It's our job to take a beautiful site and make it even more spectacular. And typically that's not by, if you have a site where you've got a gorgeous something in the distance, you don't want to do something that's going to distract you from that view. You want whatever you do to point to and say, yeah, this is nice, but really the star of the show was God and what they did, what he did in that, the lake in the distance, the mountain, the whatever it is. So that's the star of the show. In Japan, I just got back from there a few months ago. It's called borrowed scenery, where you're literally making whatever's in the distance feel like it's part of your design, your space. Or you have to minimize. Every site has some negatives, neighbors views in, drainage problems, elevation changes that are detrimental. Whatever it is, your job is to minimize the negative aspects of the space and make them disappear from conscious. Yeah, they're there, but you don't know that they're there. This is one quick example that we did that's got they're staring, just neighbors everywhere behind them, staring down on the houses. So we actually put a pergola on the back, like a cantilever pergola in a wall, and made it feel like a Santorini style, hanging daybed and tie-in. So all of a sudden, all the neighbors disappear. You don't see them, you don't experience them. All you want to do is spend time in this space. So one of the biggest reasons that we design is designed to connect, create spaces that cause gathering, intentional design for relationships and friendships. The family haven is what I always call it. And how many times have you probably have all had this too, that, why do you want to do this? Well, we want our kids are teens or about to be teens, or they are, and they're young and they're in sports. And we just want a place where they're going to be here and they're going to bring their friends here, and they're not going to go off to someone else's house. We get to know who the friends are, and we know what's going on, and we get to be part of their lives, because they're going to go where all the fun stuff is, whether it's your house or a neighbor's down the way. And if they're in the neighbors, you don't know what else they're getting into. But if they're with you get to be part of their lives. That family haven is a huge reason where you connect and make spaces just cause fun on every level. Another reason is designed to retreat. That's the client that just needs to get away, that lives the super overscheduled, busy life, the executive with 7,000 phone calls and meetings and going on there, or the mom that's got 4 kids and 7 sports and everyone's going every which way, every direction, every day. Sometimes you just need to create a space that's intentionally there just to chill and leave the phone behind, let it go, to reflect, relax, recharge, rejuvenate, remember why we're here in the first place. Another reason, and some people say this is egotistical and full of themselves, I disagree, designed to impress, to create the space that's someone that just loves to entertain, to gather, to have fun, we just we love to have people over and cook and just have community and spend time, whether it's friends gathering for ball games, whether it's the kids sports teams after the big game, whether it's church groups or whatever. But when so many people love that outgoing person, and when you can give them a space that can impress the people that are there and make bold statements about who they are and what they like to do, and have some features that are fun, the music's going, the fire's going, the water features are going, those are great spaces to create. Lastly, we designed to differentiate. And great design is a differentiator that separates great projects from ones that are meh, fine, it's good. But when you have a design with elements and features that push the envelope and do something different, those are the ones that get attention and draw people to them and win awards and make things really set you apart in your company, to where you now are able to do those things and push the envelope, and then you're able to charge more and move on to the next level of projects. That happens not just by producing more of the same thing over and over and over and over again, It happens when you push the envelope of design and create something truly unique and spectacular. This is one we designed a year, 2 years ago. It's built last year. I think it finished this past summer. And it's got the spa's got a three-sided acrylic panel that spills over, and it's got the void middle, like the 9/11 museum or the 9/11 memorial up in New York, where it just spills into that hidden gap. It actually spills over to a surge tank that recirculates it out and takes it in. But a couple of acrylic panels on the backside, the bay, the water all ties in. I mean, it's a killer space, and it's unique on so many different levels. And it completely sent another client that's interested in doing a job that's this is down in the 30A area of Florida, and they sent him to this contractor that built this and showed him that, and he's like, basically, where do I sign? And so that's not it sets yourself and differentiates yourself at a lot of different levels. All right, the last thing we're going to look at before we take a break, it's been a lot of talking, is what makes a space special. And this is where we're going to start to transition into what makes the design work. And you can look at some of these spaces and see that's a super cool project. And here, this is one that I think Thomas Flint in New Jersey did, as a landscape architect up there, did this design or this space. It's a spatial theme is an angular theme, and you can take this, and most people would take this and just do a rectangle and do a rectangle spa and do all rectangles on the side, and it would be nice. But when he came in and instead made it angular and made it kind of edgy and jagged and intense and dynamic in space, and the spas, none of the lines match up with each other perfectly. And that's what makes it adds a different emotion to the space that's really cool. So that's what makes this an award winner pool, not the fact that it's just another rectangle pool. This one's one of the guys down in Miami area, the assign, and look at how the integration happens here, where the spa, it's not a spa over the corner. If the spa is in the middle of the pool, you actually have to get wet to get into the spa. I make this joke with a lot of people all the time too. And they're, well, how do I get in the spa? I was like, well, you walk into it, but what if I get wet? Well, what if it's cold? Well, you're getting in a spa. You're going to be wet. How is that? I mean, I'm sorry you have to step in 8 inches of water, but instead of then having to separate the thing, it gives you an opportunity to really tie things together in a super cool way. And then the question is, well, what if it's, the winter time and it's cold right here? So, well, yeah, but your spa's hot. So you take a step, take a couple of steps and, to your ankles in cold water, and then you get to warm them up. That's the beauty of it. So, live a little, get outside your bubble, people. And it's got different elements. The tables that can sit around in a pool is really cool. Different shapes tie in. So different ways it's the spaces that are special. Here's one I did several years ago. The symmetry, plays in how all the features line up. Very European design. The fire pit turns into the pool. It ends up being like 110 feet of water that connects the two, but the pool is in the middle. But instead of just having a pool and then a deck and then a jumping pool and then a deck and then a deck on the other side and then a spa, just by putting this runnel, this canal basically between the two, and put a couple low bridges on it, it ties in and makes the whole thing feel like it's one super cool space. This one is down in Miami as well, one of Ray Corral mosaicist stuff. You can see how the balance plays in, how the colors are unique, and how it all starts the design elements are really playing off the architecture of the house, making it feel like it's all one space, the architectural unity. This is another one from Thomas Flint in New Jersey. And I use this one a lot talking about integration, and that's something I'll bring up later too, kind of as a bonus category. It's actually part of my advanced class that I like to incorporate in here too, to teach some of the same factors here. We're actually, it's not just the pool surrounded by a deck, surrounded by some plants, surrounded by a fence and some grass on the outside, like an envelope as it builds out. When you can have the steppers that cross over the pool when it touches and the spa is partially surrounded, you bring some landscape planters, the pool is on the edge. You have a lot of ways to create very cool integration of space, and it feels like it becomes one excuse me, mesh instead of all individuals. This is a really good example of a curves, how to use some circular design in your spatial theme, and a water feature that's got different elements to it, but it's like a big piece just punctures through the middle of it. All these different radiuses play off each other in a unique way. This one, Ryan Hughes down in Tampa, another excellent designer. This is simple in a thing. It's a really cool piece, but typically everyone does vanishing edges and spill into a basin. No problem there. Everyone does that. But what makes this so unique, he's put a LED light bar, probably PAL, because I know he does a lot with PAL, in that spillover edge, and then when the water's going over that LED light bar, it looks like an equalizer, like the water's playing and the movement of the water is allowing that to jump up and down, and it becomes its own, like a musical element to it, just because he designed in a cool light bar for emphasis. CB, I think this one's yours. This is I like this one because it's another angular. I'm a big fan of doing angular design, but it's angular on multiple planes. Look how the water feature is sort of rising up from the pool and headed out to the bay in the distance. 3 scuppers come out, really working with where the emphasis line is that comes out and designing the space, and just the whole thing that becomes very dynamic and interesting and draws you out to the bay instead of just kind of doing a rectangle that was surrounded by deck. It's another Ryan Hughes, where basically you can see the symmetry line. You literally feel the line drawing you out all the way out to the middle, and then it ends and there's this window, but it's really a cutout. It's like the void or the negative space that has a palm tree behind it is what makes it so cool behind that cutout. Fox Terra, if you guys are familiar with those guys, they're a designer out of LA, and they push the envelope. Some of the stuff's a little much, especially in the rope lights and the grass and stuff. But I mean, they've got a style and it's really cool. But creating the spaces that are like these adjacent, the acrylic panels and how the fire and the water touch with each other. That's a whole part of the advanced class I teach, is how the elements of nature touch your senses, and it makes a really cool place you just want to experience and don't want to leave. I think this is this may not be Randy, is it? No, this is in Canada. So I was thinking it looks like a Randy Angel, but it's not. How the structure and some of the design details of the structure. Imagine if that were just slats. This whole space loses so much impact. But by doing a cool design in the structure here and some sculptural pieces and tying some elements in, it becomes an art piece in a neat way. Another Ryan Hughes, you can see all of the sight lines that are taking you down the middle and connecting and tying it all through. Really, what becomes the biggest, most impactful part of this design is this little space. You've got this huge fire pit, you've got all these pools, and you've got the water wall and the steppers that go across, and all these great features. But the small detail connects the little canal that connects the two together, and the way it wraps around that one stone. This is like the golden piece that ties it all together. This one's up in Canada too. I think this is a liner pool. So even with different styles of pools, you can do some really cool things vertical spaces, how the landscape ties in. Runnel takes you out to the spa that's sort of the setup at Perch as an accent. You start breaking down these spaces and seeing how they're done and what makes them so interesting. Phoenix, again, this one I've always thought is the pool house. Instead of doing the big heavy beamed columns that are here, instead they chose 5 black steel posts, and then 3 on the other side, and obviously odd numbers 3 and 5, and that in itself makes it a super cool structure and gives you a lot of expand there too with steel being behind it. Simplicity. It's an Australian project. Contrast of materials, how it levels and layers in. Projects don't have to be massive and over the top to be interesting. They can be clean and minimalist and beautiful in a lot of different ways. Another Ryan job, I always imagine this when I see it, typical is this probably was one, and you get in Florida a lot of the shrub trees basically, and I don't know the name of which one it is, but you can't touch them, you can't knock them down. So you've probably got this great view over, you want your vanishing edge pool, and you've got the bay that's in the distance, but the trees are there and you just can't. I'm like, well, it screws up the whole design. But if you take a negative and make it a positive, and by pruning them up and making them these sculptural trees and then lighting it from the bottom, that in itself becomes the view you want to look at instead of just the void into the bay. Different way of looking at things differently. It goes back to the beginning of the session. So design is different. Van Kirk, they were in this class several years ago. 2 brothers, they did, this one's a cool one too, where it's got the water entrance, water wall coming down, ties in, and did an acrylic panel as the step that goes across. So you literally walk across the water when you go into the house. Just took a negative or a regular thing, and instead of just making it a stone patio, put the water underneath it, and now it becomes a thing. You've got to go to the front of the house, got to go there to experience that.